boy is abandoned with no name and nothing, until a businessman gives him everything. Michael Patterson never imagined his life would change completely on a rainy Tuesday in March. The 37-year-old businessman was hurrying down Fifth Avenue when he stumbled over something small on the sidewalk. Looking down, his eyes met those of a boy around 8 years old, sitting on the wet ground, shivering from the cold. "Sorry, I didn't see you," said Michael, adjusting his navy blue suit as he reached out to help the boy up. The child just stared at him with big brown eyes, refusing the help. His clothes were dirty and torn, his feet bare despite the cold. Michael realized there were no adults nearby. "Where are your parents, kid?" he asked, crouching down to the boy's level. "I don't have any," the boy replied in a hoarse voice, as if he'd been crying for a long time. Michael glanced around. It was early evening and the avenue was starting to get busier. People rushed past, completely ignoring the child's situation. "What do you mean you don't have any? And your name, what is it?" "I don't have one either." The answer sent a chill down Michael's spine. He had grown up in a stable family, never wanting for anything. The idea of a child with no name, no family, nothing, it was something his mind couldn't easily process. "Look, you can't stay out here. It's raining and it's cold," Michael said, taking off his coat and draping it over the boy's shoulders. "Come on, let's get you some help." "I don't want to go anywhere." The boy shrank back. "Every time someone says that, things get worse." Michael felt a pang in his chest. There was something in the way the boy spoke that hinted at past bad experiences. He glanced at the expensive watch on his wrist. He had an important meeting in 20 minutes, but something inside him wouldn't let him just walk away. "Are you hungry?" he asked. The boy hesitated, then gave a small nod. "There's a diner right on the corner. How about we get something to eat while we talk?" After much insistence, the boy finally agreed. They walked to a nearby diner where Michael ordered a sandwich and hot chocolate for the child. As the boy ate hungrily, as if he hadn't had food in days, Michael tried to understand the situation better. "How long have you been on the streets?" he asked gently. "I don't know. A few days. Maybe weeks. And before that, do you remember anything?" The boy stopped eating, his eyes filling with tears. "A woman left me here. Said she'd come back, but..." His voice cracked. "She never did." Michael felt anger rise in his chest. How could anyone abandon a child like that? He didn't have children himself. His marriage to Jennifer had ended 2 years earlier precisely because she wanted to start a family, and he kept putting it off, too focused on business. "Listen, what should I call you? I need a name." "You can call me anything." "No, you need a real name. How about Jacob? You look like a Jacob." The boy gave a small smile for the first time. "Jacob. I like that." "Then Jacob it is. Now, Jacob, I need to take you somewhere where people who know about these things can help you." The smile vanished instantly. "No, they took me to places like that before. People are mean, they..." "Jacob, I promise I'll stay with you. I won't leave you alone." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Michael knew he had to act fast. He couldn't leave a child on the street, but he also didn't know the exact legal procedures. He decided to call his sister Rebecca, who worked as a social worker. "Rebecca, I need your help urgently," he said on the phone, while Jacob finished eating. "Michael, what happened?" "I found an abandoned child, a boy about 8 years old, no family, no name, nothing." "Oh my God, have you called Child Protective Services yet?" "Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. The boy is really scared, says he's been through bad places before." Rebecca sighed on the other end of the line. "This is a delicate situation, Michael. You can't just bring a child home. There are procedures, protocols." "I know, but he's terrified. I promised I wouldn't leave him alone." "All right, I'll meet you there. Which diner?" Half an hour later, Rebecca arrived at the location. She was a 42-year-old woman with brown hair tied in a bun, her gaze both warm and professional. When she saw Jacob, her heart tightened. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, crouching in front of the boy. "My name is Rebecca. I'm Michael's sister." Jacob looked at Michael, as if asking for permission to trust the woman. "She's here to help, Jacob. Rebecca is a good person. She works with children." "Jacob," Rebecca smiled. "That's a lovely name. Did you choose it, sweetheart?" The boy nodded timidly. "Listen, Jacob, I'll be completely honest with you. There are rules we need to follow to keep you safe. I'll have to take you to a safe place tonight, and tomorrow we'll talk about what to do next." "Can he stay with me?" Michael asked. "No, Michael, that's not how it works. You're not certified to take in a child. You don't have custody. But I can't just leave him in a shelter. Look at him, Rebecca. How many times has he already been through this?" The argument between the siblings grew heated, and Jacob realized he was at the center of the conflict. Without anyone noticing, he got up from the table and walked out of the diner. By the time Michael and Rebecca noticed, it was too late. The boy had disappeared into the crowd on Fifth Avenue. "Jacob!" Michael shouted, running outside. They searched for 2 hours but found no trace of the boy. Rebecca tried to calm her brother. "Michael, you did what you could. Tomorrow I'll file a report and we'll start an official search." "No, Rebecca, I can't just forget. That boy, there's something different about him." "Different how?" "I can't explain it. But when I looked into his eyes, it was like he was my son." Rebecca knew her brother well enough to understand he wasn't being dramatic. Michael was a practical, focused man who never spoke about feelings. Seeing him so shaken by a child he'd only known for a few hours was entirely new. "All right. I'll do what I can to speed up the procedures. But Michael, even if we find Jacob, there's no guarantee you'll be able to keep him. Adoption is a long and complicated process." "I know, but I have to try." For the next 3 days, Michael couldn't focus on work. His tech company, which had always been his top priority, seemed irrelevant compared to his worry for Jacob. He hired a private detective to help with the search and spent every night combing the streets of downtown. On Thursday, he finally found the boy sleeping under an awning near the subway station. He was even thinner and dirtier than before. "Jacob," he called softly, crouching beside him. The boy opened his eyes and, recognizing Michael, began to cry. "I didn't mean to run away, but you were fighting because of me." "No, it wasn't because of you. We were the ones who messed up. Rebecca and I were trying to decide what was best for you without asking what you wanted." Michael took out a blanket he'd brought and carefully wrapped it around Jacob. "Jacob, I'm going to ask you an important question, and I want you to answer honestly. What do you want? Would you like me to help you find a new family, or do you want to try staying with me? Can I stay with you? I really hope so, but it won't be easy. It'll take a long time, and we'll have to go through a lot of people who will ask many questions. Are you brave enough for that?" Jacob wiped his tears with the back of his hand. "If you promise you won't abandon me, I'm brave enough for anything. I promise, Jacob. No matter what happens, I won't abandon you." The first obstacle appeared the next day. Rebecca explained that Michael would need to undergo psychological, social, and financial evaluations before even starting the adoption process. Meanwhile, Jacob would have to stay in a temporary shelter. "How long will this take?" Michael asked. "At best, 6 months, but it could take over a year." "A year? Rebecca, he's a child. A year in his life is an eternity." "I know, Michael, but the rules exist to protect children. I've seen many cases where people thought they wanted to adopt but gave up when they realized how hard it is." "I won't give up. You say that now. But you're single, work 12 hours a day, travel constantly for work. How will you take care of a child?" Rebecca's question made Michael pause. She was right. His life wasn't set up for a child. But at the same time, he couldn't imagine his life without Jacob. "I'll change. I'll hire people to help, cut back on travel." "Michael, it's not just that. Are you sure you really want to be a father? Because being a father isn't just about providing a home, food, and clothes. It's about being present, teaching, having patience." "Rebecca, I don't know if I know how to be a father, but I know that boy matters more to me than anything ever has." Jacob, who had listened silently, finally spoke. "I can wait. If it takes a year, I'll wait." "Jacob, you don't have to," Rebecca began. "I want to wait," the boy insisted. "Michael was the first person who treated me well. It's worth waiting." The shelter where Jacob was placed temporarily was in the Upper East Side of New York City. It was clean and organized, but Michael could see in the boy's eyes that being there made him sad. Visits were only allowed twice a week, for 2 hours each. During those visits, Michael and Jacob talked about everything. The businessman discovered the boy was incredibly smart. He could read and write, despite never attending school regularly, and had an impressive memory for numbers. "How did you learn to read?" Michael asked during one visit. "A woman at the last place I stayed taught me. She was nice, but she left." "And math? You're really good with numbers." Jacob shrugged. "I've always been able to do calculations in my head. People were always surprised." Michael started bringing books and educational games for Jacob. The boy absorbed everything with astonishing ease. In just weeks, he was solving math problems children his age usually wouldn't learn until the following year. But not everything was going well. The social worker assigned to evaluate Michael, a woman named Dr. Sarah Williams, was being extremely strict in her assessment. "Mr. Patterson, I see here you've never been married and have no experience with children. That's concerning," she said during one interview. "Dr. Williams, I don't think being single disqualifies me from being a father. There are many single parents who raise wonderful children." "Yes, but usually those parents became single after having children, not before. You're looking to adopt a traumatized child who needs a lot of attention and care. How will you manage that while working so much?" "I've already made changes. I hired an assistant to take on some of my work, reduced travel." "Mr. Patterson, changes made too quickly don't always last in the long run. We need to be sure your decision wasn't driven by emotional impulse." The psychological evaluation also brought unexpected challenges. The psychologist, Dr. Richard Thompson, asked questions Jacob had never considered. "Mr. Patterson, what motivated you to want to adopt Jacob specifically? Why didn't you go through a traditional adoption agency?" "I wasn't looking to adopt. I found Jacob by chance, and there was an instant connection." "That instant connection worries me. Sometimes adults project their own emotional needs onto vulnerable children. Are you certain you want to be Jacob's father, or do you want Jacob to fill a void in your life?" The question unsettled Michael. He spent days thinking about it, questioning his own motives. Could he be acting selfishly? Was he using Jacob to fulfill some need he didn't even recognize? During a visit to the shelter, he decided to be honest with Jacob about his doubts. "Jacob, I need to ask you a tough question. Do you think I want to adopt you because I want to be your dad, or because I'm trying to fill a hole in my life?" Jacob, who was putting together a puzzle Michael had brought, stopped and looked at him. "I don't know, but does it matter?" "What do you mean?" "You treat me well. You listen to me. You bring me cool stuff. You've never yelled at me. If you're sad, and I make you happy, and I'm happy too, isn't that good for both of us?" The simplicity of Jacob's answer made Michael realize he was overcomplicating things. Maybe the psychologist was right about him having unresolved emotional needs, but that didn't make his love for Jacob any less real. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. 3 months into the process, Michael got a call that changed everything. It was from a lawyer named Mr. David Wilson. "Mr. Patterson, I represent the Brown family. My clients are interested in adopting the minor Jacob." "What do you mean? Jacob is already in the adoption process with me." "Yes, but my clients are an established couple with other children and proven experience. They believe they can provide a more suitable environment for the child." "Who are your clients?" "James and Emily Brown. He's a doctor, she's a teacher. They have 2 biological children and have adopted before." Michael felt the world spin. How could another family be competing for Jacob's adoption? "Mr. Wilson, Jacob wants to stay with me. Doesn't that count for anything?" "It counts, but it's not decisive. The judge will rule based on what's best for the child, not the child's wishes. An 8-year-old isn't mature enough to make that kind of decision." When Michael told Jacob about the Browns, the boy panicked. I don't want to go to another family. I want to stay with you. Jacob, calm down. We'll fight this, but you need to understand. The judge might think that family is better for you. Better how? Do they know me? Do they know I love math? Do they know I have nightmares? Do they know how happy I am when you come? No, Jacob. They don't know any of that. But they have experience with kids and I don't. Experience isn't the same as love. Jacob's wisdom stunned Michael, but also worried him more. If an 8-year-old could see the difference between technical experience and emotional connection, why couldn't the adults handling the case? Rebecca suggested Michael hire a family law attorney. He reached out to Ms. Amanda Taylor, one of the best lawyers in New York City for this field. Mr. Patterson, I'll be direct. Your situation is complicated, said Ms. Amanda Taylor after reviewing the case. Technically, the Brown family has every advantage. They're married, experienced, financially stable. And me? I'm not financially stable? You are, but you're single, inexperienced, and you've only known the child for 3 months. To the judicial system, those are significant disadvantages. So I don't stand a chance. You do, but it's slim. We'll have to prove you offer something the Brown family can't. A genuine and unique connection with Jacob. How do we do that? First, you'll need to convince the psychologist and social worker that your motivations are sincere. Second, we'll have to show Jacob has a special bond with you that he couldn't have with anyone else. The problem was that Dr. Sarah Williams and Dr. Richard Thompson still weren't convinced. Worse yet, when they met the Brown family, they were visibly impressed. Mr. Patterson, Dr. Sarah said during another interview, I spoke with the Brown family yesterday. They're exceptional people. They've raised 4 children, 1 adopted, all successful and well-adjusted. And I'm still being evaluated. Shouldn't the process be the same for everyone? It is the same, but when there's more than one interested family, we have to compare. And honestly, they have obvious advantages. Michael left that meeting defeated. How could he compete with a family who'd already proven themselves by raising 4 children? He began questioning whether it really would be better for Jacob to go to the Browns. It was Jacob who pulled him out of that spiral of doubt. Michael, you're sad, the boy said during a visit. A little. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better for you to go to that family. No, Jacob interrupted. You promised you wouldn't abandon me. It's not abandonment, Jacob. It's about what's best for you. What's best for me is staying with you. Know why? Why? Because you ask me what I want. They haven't even met me yet. How will they know how to take care of me if they don't even know who I am? Jacob was right. The Brown family still hadn't visited the boy while Michael had been seeing him twice a week for 4 months. Jacob, you're right. I'll keep fighting. Promise? I promise. But the fight got even harder when Michael discovered a third complication. His own family was turning against the adoption. His mother, Mrs. Elizabeth, a 70-year-old woman, called to talk. Michael, we need to talk about this adoption business. Mom, I thought you supported me. I did, but then I spoke to some friends, did some research. Son, are you sure about this? I am, Mom. That child comes from the streets, Michael. You don't know what he's been through, what traumas he has, what behaviors might develop. Mom, Jacob is a wonderful child. He might be, but you don't know how to raise a child. What if he causes trouble? What if he can't adjust? What if... Mom, who put these ideas in your head? I talked to Barbara, my neighbor. She adopted a boy a few years ago, and it was a nightmare. The child was aggressive, a liar. Jacob isn't like that. You've known him for 4 months, Michael. 4 months! That's nothing in a person's life. The conversation with his mother left Michael shaken, especially because she touched on fears he had but wouldn't admit. What if Jacob developed behavioral problems? What if he couldn't handle it? What if he was making a mistake that would hurt both him and the boy? The doubts grew worse when his father, Mr. George, showed up at his office for a serious talk. Son, your mother's worried, and so am I. Dad, not you two. Michael, you've always been a focused, determined young man. He built a company from scratch. He's successful, but he's never shown a knack for handling children. How can I show a knack if I never had the chance? Exactly. You never had the chance because you never cared. Remember when your cousins were little? You always found an excuse not to look after them. Dad, that was years ago. People change. They do, but changing overnight because of a child you met by chance, that worries me. Why does everyone think my feelings for Jacob aren't genuine? Because we know you, Michael. You've always been quick to make decisions at work, but personal matters have always been hard for you. Remember when you wanted to marry Jennifer? It took you 3 years to decide, and even then, it didn't work out. This is different, Dad. Is it? Or are you making up for losing Jennifer by trying to create an instant family? His father's question echoed in Michael's mind for days. Could it be true that he was trying to compensate for something? That his desire to adopt Jacob was just a reaction to the loneliness he'd felt since the divorce? To make matters worse, Jennifer reappeared in his life the following week. She called saying she wanted to talk. Michael, I heard you're trying to adopt a child. Jennifer, that's none of your business. Maybe not, but it worries me. Remember how you reacted when I brought up having kids? You always changed the subject, always had an excuse. Things have changed. Changed how? You found an abandoned child and suddenly turned paternal? Michael, I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like you. You don't know me anymore, Jennifer. Yes, I do. I lived with you for 5 years. I know how you are with long-term responsibilities involving other people. You get anxious, you start looking for ways out. That's not true, isn't it? Then why did our marriage end? Why did you panic every time I mentioned kids? Michael hung up, but Jennifer's words deeply unsettled him. Could he really be fooling himself? Had he not changed as much as he believed? The doubts reached their peak when he was told he'd have to undergo another psychological evaluation, this time with a specialist in complex adoption cases. Dr. Richard Thompson was a renowned psychologist, known for his rigorous assessments. Over 3 sessions, he asked questions that left Michael extremely uncomfortable. Mr. Patterson, I'll present you with some hypothetical situations. Jacob at 15 starts using drugs. How would you handle it? I would seek professional help, talk to him. What if he stole money from you to buy drugs? I'd try to understand why he did it, work to rebuild trust. What if he was arrested for dealing? Dr. Thompson, these situations are extreme. They're real, Mr. Patterson. Children from the streets are more likely to develop serious behavioral issues. Are you prepared for that? No one is prepared for everything, but I'm willing to learn, to get help. Willingness isn't a guarantee. Do you have any experience dealing with troubled teens? No, but do you have the patience to lose sleep over a rebellious child? I think so. I think so isn't a good enough answer, Mr. Patterson. We're talking about a child's future. Michael left that session feeling completely inadequate. Every question had touched on insecurities he didn't want to admit. Maybe he really wasn't ready to be a father. That night, he called Rebecca. Rebecca, I think I'm giving up. What do you mean? Everyone's right. I don't know how to care for a child. I have no experience. Maybe it's better if Jacob goes to the Brown family. Michael, why are you saying this? Because it's the truth. The psychologist asked me questions I couldn't answer. Everyone in the family thinks I'm making a mistake. Maybe I'm being selfish. And Jacob? Are you going to tell him you're giving up? I'll explain it's what's best for him. Michael, you promised that boy you wouldn't abandon him. It's not abandonment, it's rationality. Yes, it is abandonment and you know it. Rebecca hung up the phone, leaving Michael alone with his thoughts. He spent the night awake, trying to decide what to do. The next morning, he went to the shelter to talk to Jacob. The boy immediately sensed something was wrong. You're giving up on me, Jacob said before Michael could even speak. How did you? Your face. It's the same face the woman who abandoned me made before she left. Michael felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. The comparison to the person who had abandoned Jacob was devastating. Jacob, I'm not giving up on you. I'm thinking about what's best. For who? For you or for me? For you. That's a lie. If it were for me, you'd ask what I want. All right. What do you want? I want to stay with you. It doesn't matter if you don't know how to be a dad. It doesn't matter if people think you shouldn't adopt me. I want to stay with you. What if I can't take care of you properly? What if you end up unhappy? What if I'm happy? What if it all works out? Have you ever thought about that? Jacob's question made Michael realize he'd spent so much time focused on potential problems that he hadn't considered the positive possibilities. Jacob, aren't you afraid I'll disappoint you? I am. But I'm more afraid of going to a family that doesn't know me and doesn't care how I feel. The Browns could learn to care. They could. But you already care. Why trade something that's real for something that might be? Once again, the boy's wisdom struck Michael. Jacob was right. They already had a real connection. Why risk losing it for something theoretically better? You're right, Jacob. I'll keep fighting. Promise again. I promise again. But the promise would be tested in a way Michael didn't expect. 2 weeks later, the Browns finally visited Jacob at the shelter. Michael arrived for his regular visit and found James and Emily Brown talking with the boy in the recreation room. James was a tall man around 45, with graying hair and a confident smile. Emily was an elegant woman with blonde hair and a soft, motherly voice. They looked exactly like the kind of people any child would want as parents. Jacob, this is Mr. Patterson, said the social worker accompanying the visit. He's the other person interested in adopting you. The meeting was extremely awkward. James greeted Michael politely, but it was obvious he saw him as a rival. Mr. Patterson, it's a pleasure to meet you. I admire your interest in adoption. It's a noble cause. Mr. Brown, the pleasure is mine. I hope you understand we have nothing against you personally. We simply believe we can provide a more structured environment for Jacob. Michael wanted to respond, but Jacob's presence kept him from starting an argument. Instead, he watched silently as the Browns spoke with the boy. Emily was clearly experienced with children. She knew exactly what questions to ask, how to spark interest, how to make Jacob feel comfortable. Within 20 minutes, she'd made him laugh several times. Jacob, do you like soccer? James asked. A little. Our son William plays on the school team. If you come live with us, you could play too. And do you like studying? Emily asked. I have a friend who's a tutor. She can help you get ready for a good school. Michael watched everything with a heavy heart. They could truly offer things he couldn't. Siblings, an established family structure, proven experience. He began questioning himself again. Was it selfish to insist on the adoption? After the Browns' visit, Jacob seemed visibly confused. Michael, they're nice, the boy said. They really are. They seem like great people. Do you think I should go live with them? The question caught Michael off guard. It was the first time Jacob had shown any doubt. Jacob, that decision has to be yours, but you just met them. Maybe you need more time to decide. They said they have a big house with a backyard and other kids to play with. And does that interest you? Yeah, but I don't know. It's different from staying with you. Different how? With you, I feel special. Like I matter. With them, I feel like just another kid they're helping. Michael understood exactly what Jacob meant. The Browns were competent and caring, but they treated adoption like another successful charity project. To them, Jacob was a child in need who deserved help. To Michael, Jacob was the son he'd always wanted without knowing it. Jacob, you are special. No matter where you live, you'll always be special. But am I special because I'm special? Or special because I'm pitiful? Jacob's insight was striking. At 8 years old, he already understood the difference between being valued for who he was and being helped out of pity. You're special because you're smart, brave, funny, kind. Because you make me a better person just by being near you. The Browns don't know me like that. Not yet, but they could learn to. Do you think they'll love me or just like me? What's the difference? Love is when someone wants you around, even when you're being annoying. Liking is when they only want you around when you're being good. Michael was moved by the answer. At 8, Jacob had grasped something many adults take decades to understand. Jacob, I love you. I don't just like you. I love you. That means even if you throw tantrums, even if you get bad grades, even if you're stubborn, I'll still want you with me. What about the Browns? I don't know. Maybe they'll learn to love you too, but that'll take time. And you? Do you already love me? Yes, since the first day. Jacob fell silent for a long moment, processing the conversation. Michael, can I tell you a secret? Of course. I dream about you every night. What kind of dreams? I dream that you pick me up here and we go to your house, that you teach me to drive, take me to school, scold me when I mess up my room. I dream that I'm really your son. Jacob, want to know something? Even if the judges decide I have to live with the Browns, you'll always be my dad in my heart. Michael started crying. He couldn't help it. In the 5 months since he'd met Jacob, he'd never been so overwhelmed. Jacob, you'll always be my son in my heart too. That conversation gave Michael the strength he needed to keep fighting. No matter how many people thought he was wrong, no matter how many evaluations he had to go through, Jacob wanted to stay with him and he wanted Jacob. That had to count for something. The following week, he scheduled a meeting with Dr. Sarah Williams for one final appeal. Dr. Williams, I know technically the Browns have advantages over me, but I'd like you to consider something. Jacob isn't just a child in need of help. He's a unique, special boy with his own personality and clear preferences. Mr. Patterson, of course we consider Jacob's personality. Do you, really? Because he has a special connection with me that he couldn't have with other people. He understands me, and I understand him. We spent 5 months building this relationship. Mr. Patterson, 5 months is still a short time. To know someone completely, maybe. But to know if there's compatibility, it's enough time. Dr. Williams, Jacob makes me want to be a better person. He makes me want to learn how to be a father. Doesn't that count for anything? It does, but good intentions aren't always enough. And is experience without a genuine connection enough? The question made Dr. Williams hesitate. It was obvious she had also noticed the difference in how Jacob responded to Michael and the Brown family. Mr. Patterson, I'll be honest. Professionally, I should recommend the Browns. They meet all the technical requirements, but personally, there's something special about your relationship. Then help me. Tell me what I need to do to prove I'm the best choice for Jacob. You need to convince Dr. Richard Thompson. He'll give the final opinion on your psychological suitability. And honestly, he has some reservations. What kind of reservations? He thinks you're romanticizing fatherhood, that when reality sets in, you might not be prepared. How can I prove I'm ready for a reality I haven't experienced yet? That's exactly the problem, you can't. That's why cases like yours are so complex. Michael left that meeting knowing he had to find a way to show his commitment in practice, not just in theory. That's when he got an idea. He called Ms. Amanda Taylor, his lawyer. Ms. Taylor, what if I did a trial custody period, like a test? How so? Jacob stays with me for a few weeks under supervision, so everyone can see how we interact day to day. It's possible, but risky. If anything goes wrong, it'll hurt your chances for good. And if it goes well, then your chances improve a lot. So let's try. The proposal was presented to the judge handling the case, Judge Robert Anderson. After much debate among the parties involved, he agreed. Mr. Patterson, I'll authorize a 30-day trial custody period. Jacob will be in your care, but there will be weekly check-ins. Any problems, and the child goes back to the shelter immediately. Understood, Judge Anderson. And Mr. Patterson, this is your only test. If it doesn't work out, the case will automatically be decided in favor of the Browns. The pressure was immense, but Michael was determined. Finally, he'd have the chance to prove he could be a good father to Jacob. The day Jacob left the shelter to live temporarily with Michael was one of the most emotional of their lives. The boy had only a small backpack with his few clothes and some books Michael had given him. Ready, Jacob? Let's go home, Michael said, holding the boy's hand. Our home, Jacob corrected, smiling. Michael's apartment was large and modern, but clearly not set up for a child. Jacob looked around curiously. It's really nice, the boy said, but it feels kind of empty. Empty how? There's no kid stuff, no mess. Michael laughed. Well, we can fix that. Want to pick which room will be yours? Jacob chose the smaller room, with a window facing the park. Over the next few days, they went shopping for furniture, clothes, toys, and school supplies. Michael, can I pick the wall color? Jacob asked. Of course. What color do you want? Blue, like your suit the day we met. The first week was nearly perfect. Jacob was an easy child, polite, organized, eager to please. They established a routine, breakfast together. Michael worked from home in the morning while Jacob studied. They had lunch together. In the afternoon, they went out for walks or to play in the park. And in the evening, they watched TV or read. But by the second week, the first problems arose. Jacob started having nightmares every night, waking up screaming and crying. Michael didn't know how to handle the situation. Jacob, do you want to talk about what you dreamed? He asked after a particularly rough night. I dream that you send me away, the boy replied, still trembling. Why would I do that? Because you found out I'm trouble. Jacob, you're not trouble. Having nightmares is normal for someone who's been through what you have. The Browns wouldn't like my nightmares. How do you know? Because they want a perfect kid. You want me even when I'm messy. The distinction Jacob made was an important insight for Michael. The Browns really did seem to expect a child who would easily adapt to their routine. Michael, however, was willing to adjust his routine to Jacob's needs. By the third week, a more serious problem emerged. Jacob started throwing tantrums whenever Michael had to leave for work meetings. I don't want you to go, the boy shouted, clinging to Michael's leg. Jacob, I have to work. I'll be back in 2 hours. What if you don't come back? What if you decide I'm too hard to take care of? Jacob, I will always come back, I promise. The woman who left me also promised she'd come back. Michael understood then that Jacob's fears weren't just tantrums, they were trauma. The boy was testing boundaries, trying to figure out if Michael really wouldn't abandon him. Jacob, come here, Michael said, crouching to his level. Let me explain something. I'm not the woman who left you. When I say I'll come back, I mean it. Always. How can I be sure? Because since the day I met you, I've never broken a single promise to you. Remember? Jacob thought for a moment, then nodded. That's true. Then trust me. I'll leave now. Be back in 2 hours, and we'll have dinner together, okay? Okay. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. When Michael returned from his meeting, he found Jacob drawing at the kitchen table. The picture showed 2 stick figures holding hands, one big, one small, in front of a house. That's a beautiful drawing, Jacob. Who are these 2? It's us, at our house. Our house looks very nice in the drawing. Michael, can I ask you something? Always. If the judges decide I have to go with the Browns, will you visit me? The question broke Michael's heart, but he chose honesty. Jacob, I'll do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. But if it does, yes, I'll ask to visit you. What if they say no? Then I'll be sad, but I'll respect their decision. No, if they say no, you fight, because even if I live with them, you'll still be my heart's father. Jacob, promise you'll fight. I promise I'll fight. The 4th week brought the biggest test yet. Jacob got sick, a high fever that lasted 3 days. Michael had never cared for a sick child before and was desperate. Jacob, you have to take your medicine, Michael said, trying to convince the boy to drink the syrup. I don't like it. It's bitter. I know, but it'll help you feel better. What if it doesn't? What if I get really sick? You won't. The doctor said it's just a cold. What if the doctor's wrong? Jacob, are you scared? I am. Last time I was sick, no one took care of me right. This time is different. I'll take care of you until you're all better. Michael spent 3 sleepless nights, checking Jacob's fever every hour, giving him medicine, applying cold compresses. On the 3rd night, when the fever finally broke, Jacob said something that changed everything. Michael, now I know you really love me. Why? Because you took care of me even when I was cranky and sick. Only someone who loves you does that. In that moment, Michael realized he had passed the most important test, not the one from the social workers or psychologists, but Jacob's own test. The follow-up visit in the 5th week was conducted by Dr. Sarah Williams. She arrived unannounced in the middle of the afternoon and found Michael helping Jacob with his homework at the kitchen table. "Good afternoon," she said. "How are things going?" "Very well," Michael replied. "Jacob, remember Dr. Sarah?" "I do. Hi, Dr. Sarah." "Hi, sweetheart. Why don't you tell me how it's been living with Michael?" Jacob glanced at Michael as if asking for permission to be honest. "You can say anything, Jacob. Dr. Sarah needs to know the truth." "It's been nice. Michael doesn't know how to do some dad things yet, but he learns fast." "What kind of things doesn't he know?" "At first, he didn't know kids need plastic cups, not glass. And he didn't know that when a kid gets sick you have to stay close, but he learned." "And have you been teaching him?" "Sometimes. And sometimes he figures it out on his own." Dr. Sarah spoke with Jacob alone for a few minutes, then asked Michael some questions. "Mr. Patterson, has it been difficult adjusting your routine?" "Very difficult, but also very rewarding. Jacob teaches me something new every day." "What kind of things?" "Patience, perspective, priorities. Before I met him, I thought work was the most important thing in the world. Now I know there are much more important things." "And professionally, how are you handling the changes?" "I hired a competent assistant, rearranged my schedule, cut back on travel. The company is running well, maybe even better than before." "Why?" "Because now I delegate more, trust my team more. And when I'm working, I'm more focused because I know I have to stop and come home." After the visit, Dr. Sarah seemed impressed. "Mr. Patterson, I have to admit I was skeptical about your ability to adapt, but I see the two of you have developed a very healthy dynamic." "Thank you. But we still have 1 week left, and the Brown family is questioning whether the trial period is fair, since they didn't get the same opportunity." "They can, if they want." "They don't. They say they trust the professional evaluation, that they don't need to prove anything. And what do you think about that?" "I think someone who loves a child wants to spend time with them, wants to get to know them better. Someone who just wants to help thinks technical knowledge is enough." Dr. Sarah's response gave Michael hope, but he knew the final decision wasn't hers. The last week of the trial period was the most tense. Michael knew he was being watched and judged with every gesture, every word, but Jacob reassured him, "Michael, stop being nervous, just be yourself. It's you I like." "But what if I do something wrong?" "Every dad messes up sometimes. What matters is that you care about doing it right." On the final day of the trial period, there was a meeting with everyone involved: Michael, Jacob, the Brown family, the social workers, the psychologists, and the judge. "Jacob," said Judge Robert Anderson, "you've spent a month living with Mr. Patterson. How was that experience?" "It was the best experience of my life." "Why?" "Because for the first time I really felt at home. Michael doesn't try to change who I am. He likes me just the way I am. And if I decide you should live with the Brown family, they might like you just the way you are too." "They might, but they don't know me yet." "Michael knows me. He knows I like to wake up early, that I'm afraid of the dark, that I'm good at math but bad at English. He knows I have nightmares, but he doesn't get mad at me for it." "Mr. and Mrs. Brown," said the judge, "would you like to comment on anything?" James Brown stood up. "Judge Robert, we deeply respect Jacob's opinion, but an 8-year-old child isn't mature enough to make decisions that will affect the rest of his life. We still believe we can offer a more suitable family structure." "And Mr. Patterson?" asked the judge. "Judge Robert, during this month with Jacob, I've learned that being a father isn't about prior experience or a perfect setup. It's about loving a child enough to learn whatever it takes to make them happy. I may not have experience, but I have love. And love teaches love. It can't be replaced." Jacob looked at Michael with a proud smile. "That's exactly it," said the boy. "Michael loves me, and I love Michael." Shouldn't that be what matters most? Judge Robert Anderson fell silent for a long moment, clearly weighing all the factors in his decision. I'll need a few days to decide. The ruling will be announced next Friday. The next 5 days were the longest of Michael and Jacob's lives. They tried to keep their normal routine, but the tension was impossible to ignore. Michael, what if the judge rules against us? Jacob asked on Thursday night. Then we'll accept the decision and hope the Brown family takes good care of you. You won't fight it? Jacob, if I fight too hard, I might make things worse for you. Sometimes accepting is how we protect the ones we love. But you promised you'd fight, and I will. But there are different ways to fight. Sometimes we fight by struggling. Sometimes we fight by not giving up. I don't understand. If the judge decides you have to live with the Brown family, I'll accept it. But I won't give up on you. I'll ask to visit you. I'll keep being your friend. I'll always be here when you need me. Even if they don't want you to. Even if they don't want me to. Because you'll always be my son in my heart, no matter where you live. On Friday, everyone gathered again at the courthouse. Judge Robert Anderson looked more serious than ever. After much reflection and reviewing all the expert opinions, I've reached a decision regarding Jacob's future. The silence in the room was deafening. Michael held Jacob's hand, bracing himself for any outcome. This case has made me reflect deeply on what truly matters in adoption. For years, I prioritized technical aspects, financial stability, prior experience, traditional family structure. But the time Jacob and Mr. Patterson spent together showed me something I'd forgotten. That genuine love and emotional connection are the most important foundations of a family. Michael's heart raced. The Brown family are exceptional people who would certainly provide a suitable home for Jacob. But suitable isn't always synonymous with ideal. What I saw between Jacob and Mr. Patterson this month was a connection that goes beyond suitability. It was a family forming naturally. Jacob squeezed Michael's hand tightly. Jacob has clearly expressed his preference, and while an 8-year-old may not be mature enough for complex decisions, he does have the right to have his feelings considered. More importantly, Mr. Patterson has proven that love and dedication can make up for a lack of technical experience. Judge Robert, James Brown began. Mr. Brown, let me finish. Your family will make a tremendous difference in another child's life who needs you. But Jacob has already found his family. The judge turned to Michael and Jacob. I grant the adoption petition. Jacob, you are now officially Michael Patterson's son. Jacob started crying and threw himself into Michael's arms. For the first time in his 8 years of life, he had a real family, legally and officially. Dad, Jacob said, testing the word. Can I call you Dad now? You can, son, now and always. The Brown family left the room visibly disappointed, but with dignity. Before leaving, Emily approached Jacob. Jacob, I truly hope you'll be happy. I think you made the right choice. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You're good people too. I'm sure you'll find a child who needs you. Jacob's maturity impressed everyone. Even at 8 years old, he knew how to be grateful and kind to people who genuinely wanted to help him. In the months that followed, Michael and Jacob settled into being a real family. There were challenges. Jacob needed therapy to deal with past trauma. Michael had to learn about child rearing and psychological development, but every obstacle brought them closer. Dad, can I tell you something? Jacob said 6 months after the adoption, as they worked on homework together. Always, son. I always dreamed of having a dad, but I never dreamed of having a dad who let me take care of him too. What do you mean? You let me take care of you when you're sad, when you don't know how to do something dad-related. It's like we take care of each other. That's exactly how it should be, Jacob. Family means taking care of each other. So, we're a real family? The realest family there is. A year after the adoption, Michael received an unexpected call. It was from the social worker at the shelter where Jacob had stayed. Mr. Patterson, we have a case here that might interest you. A 6-year-old girl, Jacob's sister. We just found out she exists. Jacob's sister? What do you mean? The birth mother showed up today wanting to give up her younger daughter. During the conversation, she mentioned abandoning a son before. From the description, it could only be Jacob. Michael felt the world spin. Jacob had a sister. Where is she? Here at the shelter. Her name is Emma. I'll bring Jacob to meet her now. When Michael told Jacob about his sister, the boy was in shock. I have a sister? For real? It seems so. Do you want to meet her? Yes. But what if she doesn't like me? What if she doesn't want to live with us? Jacob, if she's your sister, she'll like you. And if she wants to, we'll do everything to have her live with us. Would you adopt her too? If you both want it, yes. The meeting between Jacob and Emma was emotional. The little girl, with curly hair and big eyes just like Jacob's, recognized him immediately. Jacob, she said shyly. Emma. Jacob ran to hug her. I knew you existed. I dreamed about you. You dreamed about me. I dreamed I had a little sister to take care of. And now you do, Emma said, smiling for the first time since arriving at the shelter. Emma's adoption process was much quicker and simpler. Michael was already an approved father in the system, Jacob was thriving under his care, and Emma clearly wanted to stay with her brother. Dad, Jacob said the day Emma moved in, is our family complete now? Yes, it is, but you know what's the best part? What? Our family came together naturally, with people who chose each other. That makes it even more special. So we chose each other. We did. I chose you, you chose me, Emma chose us, and we chose her. And now we live happily ever after, like in the stories you love. But it's not a story, right, Dad? It's real life. It's real life, son. And sometimes, real life can be better than any story. 2 years after Emma's adoption, Michael, Jacob, and Emma were a solid, happy family. Jacob had become a protective and caring older brother. Emma was a cheerful and intelligent girl, and Michael had discovered that being a father was the most rewarding thing he'd ever done in his life. One Sunday afternoon, as the three of them worked on a puzzle in the living room, Jacob made an observation that perfectly summed up their journey. Dad, remember when you asked me my name and I said I didn't have one? I remember. I lied. What do you mean? I did have a name. I called myself Nobody. Because that's how I felt, like nobody. Now I know who I am. Jacob Patterson, Michael's son, Emma's brother. And how does that make you feel? It makes me feel like someone really important. You are someone really important, Jacob. You're the most important person in the world to me and to Emma. Emma, who had been focused on the puzzle, looked up. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. If the mom who left us came back and wanted us, would you let her take us? The question caught Michael off guard. It was something he'd wondered about himself sometimes. Emma, you're my children now, legally and officially. No one can take you from me, and I'd never let anyone take you away. Even if she said she changed. Even if she said she changed. Because change has to be proven, not just said. And you already have a family who loves and takes care of you. Jacob hugged Emma, understanding his sister's fear. Emma, we don't have to be afraid of anyone taking us away anymore, Dad promised, and Dad's promises are always true. Always. Always. I've tested it lots of times and he's never broken a promise. Michael smiled, touched by his children's trust. It was true. Since the day he'd met Jacob, he'd never broken a promise to him. And what about you two? Michael asked. Do you promise you'll always talk to me when you're scared or worried about something? I promise, said Jacob. I promise too, said Emma. Then it's settled. We're a family with no secrets and no broken promises. And who loves each other very much, Jacob added. And who loves each other very much, Michael agreed. That night, after the children went to bed, Michael sat on the apartment balcony, reflecting on his life. 3 years earlier, he'd been a single businessman focused only on work, with no real expectations of starting a family. Now he was the father of 2 wonderful children, had rearranged his whole life around them, and was happier than he'd ever imagined possible. He thought about how many people had believed he was making a mistake by insisting on adopting Jacob. His family, Jennifer, even the social workers. They all had their technical reasons for thinking the Brown family would be a better option. But Michael had learned something fundamental. Love isn't technical. It doesn't follow manuals or protocols. Love is intuition, connection, a willingness to learn and grow alongside the person you love. Jacob had come into his life with no name, no history, nothing material. But he'd brought the most valuable thing of all, the chance to love and be loved unconditionally. And Emma had completed the picture, showing that families can form in the most unexpected ways, bringing people together at just the right moment in their lives. "Dad," Jacob appeared on the balcony, his hair tousled from sleep. "Jacob, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare?" "No, I just came to say goodnight again." "You already said goodnight an hour ago." "I know. But sometimes I wake up and wonder if all of this is real or if I'm still dreaming." Michael stood and hugged his son. "It's real, Jacob. We're real. Our family is real. Our love is real. Dad, can I sleep in your room tonight? Emma wants to too." "Of course. Go get her." A few minutes later, the three were snuggled in Michael's king-size bed. Jacob and Emma nestled against their father like two little cubs seeking protection. "Daddy," said Emma in a sleepy voice, "thank you for choosing us." "Thank you for choosing me too," he replied. "We chose each other at the same time," murmured Jacob, already half asleep. "That's true. We chose each other at the same time." And so, three people who had met by chance on a rainy March day became the closest and happiest family any of them could have imagined. The boy without a name became Jacob Patterson, a beloved son and protective brother. The lonely businessman became a devoted and loving father. And the abandoned girl became Emma Patterson, a cherished daughter and playful sister. Together they proved that family isn't something we inherit or earn by right. Family is something we build with love, patience, dedication, and a whole lot of courage to be vulnerable with those we love. And sometimes giving everything to someone who has nothing is, in truth, receiving everything we've ever needed without even knowing it. The end. What a touching story, isn't it? Tell us in the comments what you thought of Michael and Jacob's journey. Do you believe love is truly more important than technical experience when forming a family? We'd love to hear your thoughts and where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.